Welcome back to Tipping Point. I'm your host, Kara McKinney. A new ad is running in Canada warning about cardiac emergencies in young people. Watch. Isn't it crazy that ever since the COVID vaccines were forced on everyone, we've been dealing with an unusual surge in heart attacks, sudden deaths, and myocarditis, especially among young people who've never before been at such risk. Irregularities that have been blamed on everything under the sun, and including the sun. Remember all those headlines about climate change causing heart attacks in young people? What gets me is that the effects of the virus are taken so seriously, even exaggerated and lied about sometimes for political ends. But the origins of the virus itself causes no further interest for the elites. It's curious, right? It's almost as if they're covering up for something or someone. And that certainly seems to be the case with the mini Wuhan lab we have being built out in Colorado and with the illegal Chinese Biolab uncovered in Reedley, California. We briefly covered some of those updates last week after the arrest of the man who ran the place and with the release of a report by the House Select Committee on the CCP. But it deserves a closer inspection. Joining us now to discuss those updates, which she writes about in this piece for Red State, is their managing editor, Jennifer Van Laar. Jennifer, thanks for being here tonight.
Always a pleasure.
Great. So first, let's talk about this cover-up by the FBI as you outlined in your piece. Can you kind of walk us through what happened when Fresno County officials first caught wind of this illegal biolab?
Right. Well, we knew from the first time that the story was that when it came out in July, that it was discovered due to a code enforcement officer finding a green garden hose coming out of a back part of this industrial building in Reedley. We didn't know that that was in December of 2022 and that she had contacted the FBI first. So she contacted them in December of 2022, and about 2 months later, she gets word from them that they've closed the investigation because they don't believe that there were any weapons of mass destruction inside the lab. According to what we know so far, and they could have just not said it, but from what we know, the FBI didn't even go out there and do anything. So how could they know that there's no weapon of mass destruction there? Yeah, I don't know if they were looking at import-export records, which obviously if you're in a legal operation, you're not going to keep good records. But they didn't even go out there. It wasn't until she got a hold of her congressman, Jim Costa, a Democrat, that he got the CDC involved and he got other like FDA type of people involved. But the FBI was just going to not investigate at all, say everything was fine.
And see, and that's the strangest part because, I mean, we all know the litany, right, of conservatives. You look at the FBI funny, next thing you know, you have the pre-dawn raids on your house and all the rest. So it's strange that this whole operation's happening and they go, Ebola in a refrigerator, keep shrugging the shoulders after they lock down the whole world over the COVID virus. So then you also talk about the CDC, they get involved, but it seems with some of the evidence in the lab, were they told to destroy some of it?
Well, all of it was destroyed without the CDC testing one vial even. That, like you mentioned, the Ebola refrigerator or freezer, whichever it was. There's an entire refrigerator or freezer full of stuff marked Ebola. We don't know if it actually was. Some things were marked in a code that we still haven't broken the code, so we don't know what these things would have been. But there was an abatement order by the Fresno County Health Department signed off by a Fresno County judge. So they only had a certain amount of time, I think 90 days, to test or do whatever they needed to do with this material before they had to destroy it. They told the CDC this. They told the CDC they would pay for the testing. They asked for any kind of help. CDC just said, no, it doesn't explicitly say it's like a certain substance on a certain list, so we're not going to touch it. Well, how do you know what it is if you haven't tested it? So this could have been, they could have been testing Ebola on these mice. Like 200 of them were dead with obvious disease type of wounds on their bodies.